Welcome back to the Contour. You can call me Console, and this is my second critique on my channel. The last one was pretty successful. Well, you know, for my first video. For this one, I decided to review a game with a different type of experience for me. Instead of a game from my childhood franchise that I've grown up for years, today I'm going to play a game from a game series that I have little to no experience with, and that's the iconic Final Fantasy VII. If you played any type of video game, you've without a doubt heard of this game. Now, as the Contour, I've played with most of the console companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Something about hearing these names gave me nostalgia. I've mostly played Nintendo and still do, but Sony was a big part of my childhood as well. Not so much Microsoft, but I did start getting into it in high school. I remember playing with a PlayStation every time I visited my uncle's house. He lived in a motorhome, so he didn't do so well with money. I guess it's an Espinosa tradition to spend money on games in an actual house. And yes, believe it or not, I am Mexican. Although when I'm applying for a job, I'm white. Final Fantasy VII is so iconic. When Cloud was announced for Smash, even I felt the hype. A PlayStation character smacking down with Nintendo All-Stars, a character that everyone wanted but felt like was never going to happen, finally playable after years and years of anxious requests. And yet, it happened. With Nintendo finally releasing classic Final Fantasy games on the Switch, it was going to be done. Plus, with the Final Fantasy VII Remake coming soon, I felt it was the perfect opportunity to do it. Unfortunately, I won't be getting the same experience as people did in the 90s. I will be using the dual Joy-Cons for this game. And since this game is owned by Square Enix, you think I'd be risking my channel for posting their property here. But they're actually pretty chill about it just as long as you mention it's their product. Speaking of which, this game is owned by Square Enix. And there you go. Now I can review this game without worrying about Square Enix squeezing every bit of gas out of my body. Did I really put a fart joke in here? Man, I'm already running ideas for jokes. The first Final Fantasy was created in 1987. One rumor to how it got its name was that it was supposed to be the last game developed due to being bankrupt. Another one was that Sakaguchi, a writer and lead designer who pitched the game, was originally planning to leave the gaming industry due to his past failures and wanted to go back to college. The reason for why I'm mentioning this is because they obviously didn't go that route. That game was a huge success and it spawned many sequels. Forever Fantasy VII was released on January 31st, 1997. It was originally planned on the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom in Japan as a 2D game. After we finished Final Fantasy VI, we began working on Final Fantasy VII, brainstorming and holding initial plan meetings. However, with new advancements for the gaming market, they wondered if they should do a 3D game instead, and they ended up going that direction. You know, I may not have a PlayStation or a PlayStation controller, but one thing we could do to get a similar experience in the 90s is check out the commercials. After all, how else did people learn about Final Fantasy VII in the first place?
An evil empire is sucking the life force from the planet, destroying all that's in its path. It's up to one soldier of fortune to save the world. If he succeeds, you survive. If he fails, you can always hit the reset button. Final Fantasy VII.
PlayStation.
Well, it definitely feels like a 90s commercial. Mysterious tone, a mysterious deep voice, and a mysterious everything.
Beyond the edge of reality lies a story of ultimate conquest, a story of war and friendship, a story of a love that can never be.
By the ways, I may not have played Final Fantasy VII, but I do know about a couple of major spoilers, so I don't know how different I'll feel about it than most of you who did. And also, this review is going to have some major spoilers, so if you haven't played it, go do it now. Come on, I don't care if this game is 22 years old. Go play it if you're not a real gamer. Also, this game is really long, so I'm only going to review part 1 in this video, so please keep an open mind if I say something stupid. Thank you. Square was always known for their RPGs, and with Final Fantasy probably being the most well-known in the market, I had mixed thoughts going in. I mentioned before that slower gameplay isn't a huge appeal to me, and turn-based combat was definitely not something I think I will enjoy. Most of my experience was from the Game Boy Advance games like Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green or Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, and I've enjoyed those games, it's just that I was in middle school, so my interests changed. Not to mention, I had a speed up button because I was using emulators. Yep, I was a criminal at the age of 13. Next, I'm gonna cross the border in 20 different countries.
To fight enemies, you must be in certain areas, like ones that aren't towns and other public places. You will get into battle randomly, and I think this game is known for its random encounters. It might just be that it happens without warning, but it always manages to make me jump most of the time. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. It makes me laugh because of how jumpy I can get. Enemy encounters can appear in different formations. Sometimes you can be behind them, giving you an advantage. Sometimes they can be behind you, letting them get the surprise. And they can also appear on both sides, which is the worst one. This is also random, but most of the time they're in front of you. This can make the game more interesting and is a nice change of pace. When going into this, I was thinking I was going to get the usual turn-based combat, but instead we act based on how long a meter refills, like cooldown. Actually, the mobile game Pokemon Masters has the same thing, so I've had experience with it. This made the game a lot more fun, as it kept my attention. If I did nothing, then I was going to get attacked, and if I was fast enough, I can attack twice before they do, but this is usually rare. Because of this, I don't always think about my strategies and make rash choices. Plus, I often select the wrong option when I don't mean to, but that just means you have to be careful what choices you make. I really enjoy the gameplay, and that's a big plus for me. This is the majority of the game, and there's always something to keep my interest. Weapons can increase your character stats and differ between party members. Cloud, for example, is the only character who can use swords. Non-weapons can be used by everyone, and can increase stats as well. Then there's the third equipable option, but it wasn't significant enough for me to care. Magic is also used in this game. It's determined on what materia you use. Materia are powers that can be equipped by anyone, and are equipable on your weapons. You have your basic materia like fire or ice. These types of materia can also level up and unlock stronger versions. The first time I got a level 2, it was strong enough to instantly kill a basic enemy, so yeah, it was very useful. However, since you are pretty low level, it will waste most of your mana. Then there are other types of materia that don't require MP, but some of them never work for me. I still don't know what Manipulate does. The name makes it sound obvious, but I never got it to work. My favorite is Sense, which you are definitely going to need. Some materia use up a lot of MP. These ones are the summons. They usually attack all enemies on a side. They have their own effects like a fire-based attack, but some effects can heal certain enemies. Unfortunately, there is no way to figure this out unless you use it on an opponent first. It's especially horrible on a tough enemy. This is the only thing I don't like about the combat. I understand just giving it to the player is too easy, but I wish there was some hint to what they can heal from. And lastly, the limit, which along with the summons, I would say is one of the most iconic things from the series. Limits are special attacks that can be used once over time. Depending on how much you take damage can fill it up faster. And trust me, if an enemy can fill it up after one attack, then you're not going to survive the rest of the battle. This will make it impossible to do regular attacks until you use it. However, you can still use magic and items without wasting it. You can only have a set of 2 limit moves, which you need to build by leveling up. It helps a lot, but make sure you know how to use it first. That helps a lot too.
But enough of the gameplay. As much as I really enjoy it, an RPG is mainly about your involvement in the story. And if the story isn't good, then why would I want to get involved in it?
Let's start with the characters in part 1. Cloud is naturally a real ladies' man. I mean, look at him. He's handsome, already has 2 girls interested in him, and he must be really strong since he can carry that large sword around. But man, is he skinny. He used to work for Soldier, a fighting force for the Shinran Electric Power Company. Why does an electric company have a fighting force is beyond me, but he's stronger than the average human and is a natural born leader. He's not much for talking, generally doesn't care about most things, and can be hard-headed sometimes, but he has a good heart. He can be a little shy to girls and will help others in need, but most of the time he's wondering what's his purpose in life. Barret is the leader of Avalanche, a group of terrorists trying to stop Shinra. But don't let that stereotype fool you, they're not the bad guys, although Barret doesn't seem so sure. He may look like the muscle of the crew, but whether if he's strong or not doesn't really matter. If anything, his large body is meant to look intimidating. He may seem tough, have a short temper, and didn't trust Cloud at first, but he's the most selfless person in the party and wants the best for his adopted daughter, Marlene. But can she say the N-word?
No, seriously, if a black guy adopts a white child, are they legally capable of saying the N-word?
Tifa is Cloud's childhood friend who had a crush on him since they were children. She's a skilled martial artist who's the only one in the group who can fight with her bare knuckles. She's shy, cares about Cloud, and is the reason why he has a job in the first place. She's cool. She also has polygons with the size of Cloud's head. Eris is a flower girl. She may seem like a typical damsel in distress, but she can actually kick butt. She's sweet and quick to get in a relationship, but she's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Like rip someone's private parts out. She lives with her adopted mother Amira, and constantly dodging the Turks, another group working for the Shinra. She is an ancient, also known as a Cetra, who are the only ones who can enter the Promised Land, which has loads of energy for the Shinra to get their hands on. Because she's an ancient, she can also hear voices. My aunt has that too, but we call it schizophrenia. She's my favorite character. I find her story interesting and I really like her relationship with Cloud. Plus, she has some funny moments here and there. In Japan, she's called Aerith, but was changed due to a mistranslation error. I've always known her that way, so I was pretty confused when I saw Aerith with an S. I'm going to keep calling her by her English default because that's what I left it as, so I'm hoping you guys are okay with that for now. Red 13 is a research experiment who was kidnapped by the Shinra. He has a cool design and backstory, and it's fresh to see characters that aren't human-based, but he doesn't seem too important in the overall plot. Kate Sith is a toy from the Golden Saucer, who's also a spy for the Shinra, which explains why he seems like he's sabotaging them. Now that I know, I was so surprised of how obvious the clues were despite it being in my face. When he joined us just because of a mysterious fortune he made, I didn't really think much of it. Now I get why he had the materia manipulate with him. Despite working for the enemy, he still sees them as friends, and is interested in their lifestyle enough to question his own. He's actually pretty important, but when trying to get the black materia, they make him seem like he's gonna die, except he's not because he's just a toy, and it's even more awkward when Kate Sith number 2 arrives. It tries to make it sad, but it's really not. It's such a bizarre experience. That's all you really need to know about him for now. Sid is a tough old man with a bad mouth and an expert pilot. Originally going to be the first person to go to space hired by the Shinra, his dreams were shot down trying to save a cautious mechanic named Shira from killing herself from the flames of the shuttle. And trust me, he has a good reason how poor he treats her. Basically, the shuttle was going to launch, but while it was happening, she went to check the oxygen tanks again. So Sid had to shut down the shuttle so she can survive, with Shinra shutting down the project entirely. That lady might be a scientist, but she's the second dumbest person I have ever known. To be fair, it was Sid's impatience the tanks weren't properly checked in the first place. But either way, if she stayed, she would have died. And finally, there's Sephiroth, the main antagonist of the story. Knowing that he was a villain beforehand, when I heard Cloud looked up to him as a role model, I was very surprised. I was even more interested in the relationship, something that others might not be able to experience with a fresh mindset. According to Cloud, he became friends with Sephiroth when he was in Soldier. It's weird to see Cloud act like a child when compared to now. It's kind of like that one Marine commercial.
Every one of us starts out as a wide-eyed recruit, myself included.
I guess that's how you know it's accurate. Sephiroth's power is spine-chilling. Cloud was basically useless when compared to him. It was a great way to showing how powerful he is when they fought with each other. One day, they were sent to Cloud's hometown to investigate a broken Mako reactor. Mako reactors are created by the Shinra and harness energy from the planet. Materia is actually made from Mako energy, the power of the ancients. It's nice to see something that might seem like a game mechanic be important in the story. It just makes the world seem more real. They find humans in these pods which are infused with the power of the ancients. Sephiroth wondered if he was the same. These fake ancients look like they just want to use their new move, the United States of Smash. Now, Sephiroth seemed like a pretty chill guy. He was serious and straight to the point, but he cared for his comrades. But then he snapped. He spent days in the Shinran library absorbed and obsessed in the research of the Genova project. Genova was the name of his mother, but there was also an ancient named Genova as well. He found out that Cloud's ancestor took everything away from the ancients, and now he sees him as a traitor. He burnt down Cloud's hometown and killed everyone except Tifa. Why didn't he kill them? Well, the game wonders that too. Honestly, I'm not sure what Sephiroth is. I thought he was an ancient because he is Genova's son, but apparently he isn't according to Eris. So he's a human who has a mother who is also named Genova, but he wants to rule over the world and destroy humanity to get revenge because he is an ancient. So is he or not? Well, what do you think, Tino? Okay, we gotta find a more unique way for how you talk. I don't want people thinking you're just copying Relax's cat. Hey! They all go on this journey with their own reasons. Cloud wants to settle things with Sephiroth, Barrett wants to protect the planet, most likely for his daughter Marlene, Eris wants to find out more about her heritage, Kate Sith is interested in his own life choices, Red 13 wants to protect his father and town, Sid wants to get back at the Shinra, and Tifa wants Cloud's Buster Sword. I like the plot so far, but it can get a little confusing sometimes. Let's talk about my least favorite part of the story. Oh man. So, according to Barrett, he tried to convince his childhood friend Dine to switch to Mako energy, but he's afraid to go against tradition. But one day, when Barrett and Dine were out of town, the Shinra burnt down their homes and everyone they loved. Now everyone hates Barrett. When he returned to his hometown, Cloud witnessed him get slapped in the face. And when I thought he was going to do something about it, he just stood there. Now I'm interested, but the payoff? Well, how do I say this without sounding mean? Tino! Dine hates his guts, and the only reason he hasn't hunted him down was because his dead wife begged him not to, and the reason he killed random civilians is because he just wants everything dead. What? What makes him so special when Cloud basically had the same backstory? Cloud hates Sephiroth, yeah, but he doesn't want to kill everything that breathes. The story also wanted you to think that Barret was the one who killed these people, since the witness says it was someone with a gun arm. But apparently, Dine has a gun arm too. And it was him all along. What's worse is when Cloud and friends were sent to a desert prison, they needed the boss's permission to leave. And guess who's the boss? Why? This section is just filled with coincidences, and there's been a lot of edgy characters in the story, but Dine is the worst. Barret tells him that Marlene is safe, who is actually Dine's biological daughter. But instead of, being happy about it, Dine wants to fight Barret. And I agree, Barret. He has lost his mind. Because it's his problem, he insists that he should fight him alone. After Barret defeats him, Dine gives him a necklace as proof that they got permission from the boss. Well, at least he's not 100% edgy. The presentation for Dine is pretty cool. There's more tension when he shoots Barret while he's telling the story. The fact that Barret can take tons of shots without flinching just reminds you that these characters are stronger than most humans. But the reason to why Dine is the way he is just makes no sense when you compare it to Cloud. But I like Barret. He doesn't want others to get involved with his problems, yet he's capable of forming a team when he needs to. My favorite story is about Red 13's father. After their buggy broke down, they conveniently find Red's hometown. He probably sabotaged it. They meet Bugenhagen, or Bugen for short, and yes, I looked it up and made sure to pronounce it correctly. And I'm so glad I did. Bugen. Bugin? Buggin? Probably Bugen. Red sees him as a father figure. He's very strange. He can float and hear the planet's screams, believing that it will die soon. I wouldn't be surprised if he was an ancient. Red says that he knows everything. However, despite knowing that it's fate, Bugen asks Red to join Cloud to save the planet anyways, wanting to believe he's wrong. Even if it's impossible, you should try. That's a good message, and it's nice to hear that from someone who is all-knowing. Red always thought of his biological father as a coward, originally thinking he ran away instead of protecting his hometown. However, Bugen reveals that his mother wanted to keep it a secret to what really happened. He actually did guard the town and still is today as he was turned into stone. Red realizes his father is braver than anyone he knows, making the statue cry. To me, Red didn't feel like he belonged in the story just yet. Even now, he just feels like a filler character. But any story that makes me tear up is a good story. But who knows, he might be important in the next part. Well, I'm guessing you know. Let's finally talk about the ending. So apparently, Sephiroth can control Cloud, and this makes Cloud very scared. It was because of him Sephiroth has the black materia he needs to create a meteor, which is called Meteor. Yeah, Square's not really good with names. He wants to use it to open the planet and use its energy to rule the world. Aeris is worried for Cloud and decides that she should go alone. She's an ancient, so she's the only one who can stop Meteor. So she thinks she's the only one who needs to go. This concerns the others, but Cloud is afraid to find out who he really is. But Barret tells him that not many people know who they are, but they still face their fear. And he should too. Barret is so cool. Cloud decides to take his advice, and they head to find Aeris. They find her and Cloud decides to talk to her alone. I respect that Cloud wants to face his fears, but without Tifa and Barret there to stop him, what if he loses control again? That looked like that was going to happen, but Cloud regained control. However, Aeris wasn't moving, like she's already dead. And then Sephiroth comes in and finishes the job. I already knew she was going to die. It was spoiled a long time ago. It's sad, but I don't think I can get the feeling that people did without spoilers. My favorite character died, and I won't get that experience unprepared. Cloud decides that he must keep going. Sephiroth has done a lot of bad things, so he believes he has to stop him, and he wishes his friends to join him by his side. Cloud finally accepted his role. He's a really cool character, and I'm glad I finally could see why people love him. And when I thought this game was almost over, they gave me this. Can you imagine how confused and frustrated I was? I was freaking out. 20 hours? I was told this game will take me 60. Well, I can't finish this review in this video. I hate to do this, but I'm splitting this into parts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it this far. I think it's interesting to see my thought process on this game, and I hope you are too. Anyways, have fun with the remake. Ciao!